When you go to the polls this November, this is what your ballot will look like. At the end, 2 lengthy questions. Did you know there were amendments that were going to be on?
I did not know.
Not only are some voters unaware 2 potentially constitution-changing questions are on the ballot, understanding what your vote means may not be quite clear.
It's in lawyer speak, so it's difficult to understand.
Any county clerk like Madison's Kenny Barger will tell you poll workers can't answer any questions you have about the ballot once you're inside. That's why it's important to know before you go. Amendment 1 takes up 2 columns, but is asking a simple question.
It would allow the legislature to come back itself into special session. Right now, only the governor can call a special session.
A vote for yes means changing the Constitution to now give this power to the General Assembly, removing it from the governor. A no vote leaves it as is. Amendment 2 is on something far more controversial: abortion.
Somebody will tell you pretty quickly whether they're for or against. If you read the amendment on the ballot, you don't know which way you want to vote. It's a yes/no question with double negatives in it.
The amendment asks if Kentucky's Constitution should not protect the right to an abortion.
If Constitutional Amendment 2 passes, that would eliminate those constitutional protections. That the Constitutional Amendment would say that nothing in this Constitution will give any rights for an abortion or for funding an abortion.
So a yes vote means the state constitution does not allow abortions in Kentucky. A no leaves the Constitution as is and lets the courts decide the future of abortion rights in the Commonwealth. For your local election headquarters, Bodie Brooks, Fox 56 News.
It's something many people are guilty of, using your cell phone behind the wheel.
And sometimes the wake-up call we need may come after there's already a crash. As Bodie Brooks tells us, a Kentucky lawmaker is hoping to take another try at cutting down distracted driving.
Getting behind the wheel, it's sometimes easy to forget we're piloting 2 tons of metal at deadly speeds. And how often do you find yourself doing this? Or in extreme cases, even this? You may be surprised to know in Kentucky, only texting is what's banned behind the wheel.
Now we've got Facebook, we've got Instagram, we've got Twitter, we've got TikTok, and probably 1,000 more I don't even know about. And people are ingrained in these apps, and they've developed bad driving habits.
This is the 3rd time Representative James Tipton will try to get the state to shift gears on distracted driving, introducing a bill to require drivers operate their vehicle hands-free of any electronic device.
I made 3 phone calls on the way to Frankfort this morning. I never touched my phone. I use the technology that's available in my truck, and that technology is growing and becoming more available all the time.
Tipton says the bill is about changing habits. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration data has consistently ranked Kentucky among the worst states for distracted driving deaths. After losing her brother almost 8 years ago, Kathy Strack joined Tipton last year, testifying for the bill.
In an instant, his life was taken because a truck driver felt texting and driving was more important than paying attention to those around him on the road.
Several years ago, I had a friend of mine was talking about driving to Florida late at night. And I said, well, how in the world did you stay awake driving all night? He said, I was watching movies on my computer while I was driving. Folks, people do silly things.
At the state capitol, Bodie Brooks, Fox 56 News. Yeah, Marvin Imani, just last week, Frankfort Representative Derek Graham filed House Bill 106. Now, that would legalize online sports, poker, and paid fantasy competitions in Kentucky. Last year, the House took a bet on a similar bill, but in the Senate, no dice. The expert I spoke with says the longer Kentucky waits, the more money the state stands to lose.
Absolutely, Kentucky's missing out.
Since a Supreme Court ruling in 2019, more and more states have legalized sports betting, leaving Missouri now the only bordering state to the Commonwealth without legal gaming.
Clearly, people are going right across the border, downloading the apps, and then making the bets and driving right back over into Kentucky.
John Cox at the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce says numbers from tracking company GeoComply show at least 41,000 unique users in Kentucky making bets, hopping state lines.
We need to finally pass sports betting.
I think it's a simple extension of our history and tradition of wagering on another sport, horse racing.
Politicians on opposite sides of the spectrum supporting it strongly. So why hasn't Kentucky cashed in?
It's an addictive thing. and it causes harm to families, causes harm to communities, reduces disposable income for families. So I'm opposed to gambling, including the sports betting bill.
Some, like West Kentucky Senator Whitney Westerfield, not supporting last year's bill because he sees gambling as a tax on the poor. Senate President Robert Stiver saying he just doesn't think it's a big deal.
I don't think it's a big issue in this state. It's not going to generate a lot of money. It's a appetizer or a dessert type of portion of your overall menu of your entertainment dollar.
Well, I would argue that it would be a very popular appetizer or dessert.
Cox says in 2019, Kentucky was projected to profit $22.5 million from wagering, and that's likely grown with inflation.
If you look at comparable states in terms of population-wise, we're right in between Louisiana and Oregon, which are both states that have passed and enacted sports betting legally. And so those two states bring in roughly about $30 million a year.
Now, Cox says that should the state legalize sports betting, it would help bring in talent to Kentucky, and he also says the state should direct some of that revenue to help with problem gaming addiction.
And not a debate that's going to go away anytime soon.
Oh, no, it's a very popular issue, Marvin.
Okay, Bodie, thank you.
Thank you.